What's up, guys? Zunarian here, and today we're gonna look through my revised deck list for the Harmony build. It's been a while since I did one of these, since my first one, and I'm still thankful for those who looked at my first video when it came to the deck profile. Today we're just gonna go through a revised deck list, which I sparked the idea a couple months ago, and some people in the Bermuda Triangle group on Facebook helped me to make the deck list and gave me some ideas. So today we're just gonna look through my revisions and I will talk about them. So let's get started. So begin with the grade zeros. We're gonna talk about the starter of the deck. So this is a very old card. I think this was the first starter from the Academy Divas. But anyway, this is First Lesson Kari. It's a Forerunner, has 5k, and the skill is it has Harmony on Vanguard Rearguard and Continuous on Rearguard GB1. If this unit is Harmony, put this into the soul, choose one of your rearguards, return the hand, and draw a card. So in my last deck list, I had Seedling Lures for the soul charge in the early game bounce. Since Anj is restricted to 1, I don't really need that much soul anymore. As well as if I call Lisa a lot, or I call a card from the early game and I want to bounce back to my hand, I can use a card to bounce it back. Loris was restrictive to only Harmony units, so this is why I'm using First Lesson Kari. And also, she could refill herself if I do manage to ride Anj or use a card I need a Soul Blast cost. So yeah, it's very versatile when you start striding, but in the early game, it doesn't really do much other than become a Harmony body for when you call cards to proc Harmony. So yeah, now let's go on to the triggers. So for the core of the trigger lineup, we have 4V heal, 4V crit, and 4 the Premium Collection crit. So in 2019, Bushiroad released these critical triggers for all the clans. That is the V trigger shield and the V trigger power, and it's GB1. Where your Vanguard attacks, puts it in the soul, draw a card, it chooses where your Vanguard to get 10,000 power to the end of the battle. So this is really helpful for the deck. Not a lot of strides in this deck gain a lot of power by themselves, except for like a couple of them. But it's just all around a pretty good card. It fuels soul, and it gives you a card in hand, so it's pretty good. So next on to the last 4 triggers of the deck, which is kind of unique. So the last 4 triggers of the deck is 2 Choo Choo Roberta and 2 Poppy Melody Lila. So the first one with Roberta, her skill simple is put it to the soul and you can countercharge 1. This is good for getting back needed counterblast, because this deck is sort of counterblast heavy, especially adding Lila to it. So Lila was a card from Divas Festa, and it's GB2, counterblast 1, returns unit to hand. When this unit boosts, you may pay the cost. If you do it to the end of turn, double the power of the boost unit. If they use GB2, it gets more critical. So Roberta there for the counter charge, while Lila there is for allowing your GB2 units to get an extra critical or to add more power to them. So if you call Lila from like early game or from a card like Leaves a Lot, you can still get value by returning the hand and doubling the power, which is it can be pretty good in this deck, since some units gain power while some doesn't. And especially since now that Force is finally out for Bermuda ever since I did my last deck profile, you can now use it to your advantage. And not only that, there's a couple of strides that use GB2, so you can also call her out and give a crit and double the power to the Vanguard. So these are just 4 of the utility crits in the deck. So now we're going to go on to the grade 1s. Now on to the grade 1s. We are playing 3 of Shani, the grade 1 Shani. So for the Stride Fodder, since for this deck we don't have Anj as continuous as we did before, striding isn't as consistent and free as before. So we got to play some stride fodder to keep up that stride game. And for the perfect guards, we're playing one of the drop and draw PG from the Crystal Melody set, and we're playing 3 Miracle Twin Tail Wiz. So for those who don't remember my last deck profile, I explained Twin Tail Wiz. So her effect is choose a card from your hand and discard it. When this unit displays a guard circle from hand, you may pay the cost. You do choose one of your vanguards as being attacked, and that unit cannot be hit to the end of battle. Then she has Harmony, the Harmony skill. Then our rear guard, GB1, choose a card from your hand and discard it at the end of each turn. If this unit is a Harmony, you may pay a cost. If you do, return this unit to hand. So the reason why I play a one of Enos is because if I ever have the rider, I can still filter, and also after I call Shani or use the Shani Stride, and if I don't have a Wiz but I have a heal in my hand, I can call Enos and G guard with hand-to-hand Leona and call her to Guardian Circle as a PG if I don't have a PG in hand. And Wiz is there for the early game if I end up calling it to trigger Harmony for Grade 2 Shani, or for other cards, or even on my stride turns, I can call her behind the Vanguard, discard a card to return back to hand to leave an empty circle behind the Vanguard, which you'll see in a bit why I'm suggesting this. So yeah, so far I'm liking a Grade 2 lineup for the PGs, and the stride fodder is a necessity since we play a decent amount of Grade 3s, but you want to sometimes call them and use it for other things. So now continuing with the Grade 1s, we play 3 Noble Dress Akari. So from the last deck profile, this is another key card for the early game and even mid to late game. So her skills is she has Harmony, of course, and her second skill is put this unit to the soul. When an attack during the battle that this unit attacked or boosted hits, if this unit Harmony, you may pay a cost. If you do draw a card, choose one of your rears or Harmony ability, return to your hand. So we still play Harmony units in this deck, so you might be able to get some early game rush going to force your opponent to drop more cards in hand. If not, you can still draw a card and fill up your soul. Even though she's a 7k and a 5k, she still has Harmony, and she's still one of the better Harmony units in the deck. So let's go on to the last set of Grade 1s I have for the deck. Lastly, I play 3 of Anybody Like Laffy. So you're probably wondering, this is a V-Series card. It was from the trial deck for Bermuda Triangle. Why are you playing it? So her skill is when placed, one of your other units is 5,000 power to end the turn. So the reason why I play her, there's actually 2 reasons. One, I can do defensive plays on my opponent's turn with G Guardians and another card, which it will be in the Grade 2 lineup. But also, she has 10k shield. So if I have her in hand, I can use her to guard or to call her to make my Vanguard more stronger for defensive power. There's other cards that trigger when this unit is Harmony, or when a card is called, so you could give them more power during your opponent's turn. That saves you like at least 10k shield, so it equals out when you call her during your opponent's turn. Also, if you call her out during early game, it can make your lanes pump up a little bit more, so give you a little bit more power to do more aggressive attacks. So she's actually a pretty good card for this specific deck, playing a more defensive aggro type of deck, even though we're not too sure about what's the state of premium at the moment, but it's still a fun little card to play in the deck and do fun combos with. So since that was the last of the Grade 1s, we're going on to the Grade 2s. Now for the Grade 2s, we're playing 3 Coco Loveheart Leaves a Lot. So the main card from the trial deck, for the V series for Bermuda Triangle, and it's staple to the deck because of the early game it can provide and the soul it can provide. So her skill is continuous hand. This card can be called as a grade 1. So yeah. Then auto Vanguard Rigard. One place, look at the top card of your deck. You can call it or put it to the soul. And this is a hard once a turn, just like the main. So there's a reason why I'm playing 3 of this card instead of 4, because this deck doesn't really need that much soul, and Shani already calls from the deck in later parts of the game. So her job is just to allow you to call cards in the early game. Really. And if you do run out of soul, you just put it into the soul. So yeah, and it's a 10k base, so if you have to ride this card, it's not a bad ride. So you have to force your opponent to either call a booster, or if you're playing against a force matchup, it really doesn't really change much. So now next to the other grade 2s. So for the next set of grade 2s, we got I played 3 Gift of F for Shandi and 2 of Eager Envy Mariner. So for Shandi, she has Harmony. Well, they both have Harmony. Then for Shani, Vanguard Rigor, count boss 1. At the beginning of your battle phase, you may pay a cost. If you do, draw a card for every 3 of your units in Harmony. If the number of units in Harmony are 4 or more, this unit gets 5 as parts in turn. Then for Mariner, she has 2 skills. The first one was, of course, Harmony, like I said. The second one, when this unit becomes in Harmony, if you have a Vanguard with Loris in its name, this unit gets 3 as a power. Spoiler alert, I don't play Loris in the deck. Then continuous GB2. This unit gets 0 as a power for every 2 of your units in Harmony. So for Shani, she's still a very important piece in the Harmony deck. Even though there are way better cards in the V series, a lot of the grade 2s for Bermuda don't really plus as much as her. Even the V series one, like, I know there's a couple cards like Serena that can plus, but you have to have less than 4 cards in hand, and you're already it's pretty blockable. So Shani is so important, as well as if you need to gain resources in the mid and late game, you can still call her and get some value out of that. Mariner is a beat stick. I'm only playing 2 of her because like in the other deck, I think I used to run like 3 or 4, maybe even 2 still. I'm still running 2 because she's a good beat stick. She gets at least 9k power if all your units are in Harmony. So that's still pretty good. It still hits for 18 by herself, which is still pretty good. I'm only playing specifically 2 in this deck because I can still try to fetch her out, but she isn't as important as a beater in the deck. So because with this deck, we're finally playing Force in it. So now on to the last set of grade 2s. We are playing 3 Magical Charge Vita. So for her skill, of course, she has Harmony for the first one, Vanguard Rigard. And the second skill is Rigard GB1, Soul Boss 1, and return this unit to hand. At the beginning of each of your main phase, each turn's main phase, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose up to 1 grade 1 or less cover in hand and call it to open Rigard. That's very important, open Rigard. And if you have a grade 4 or greater Vanguard, you counter as 1. So Vita is what enables the defensive plays. So if I get Laughing in hand or I draw into it from a drive check, if Vita's on the field, I have the ability to return the hand and call Laffy and give my Vanguard 5k. That's just, it haves off at least 5k more guard, so I won't have to put up for my hand. So even if I get poked, the opponent will need to hit over 15 or even 18k. So it's a good card, as well as if you like need extra counter charge in the deck, she's still good if you don't use her skill, if you have other means. of getting counter charge. So far we're running, I think, only 2 counter charges in the deck. So yeah, Vita has some nice interactions with the grade 3s that I'm going to show you. And it's going to be pretty awesome what I'll show you for the grade 3s. So without further ado, let's go on to the grade 3s. So for the major ride target, or ideal ride target for the deck, one of the 2 ideal ride targets is full apparel Farlulu. And this is the trial deck to the boss from the Bermuda Triangle V-Series trial deck. So she has 2 simple skills. Continuous, Vanguard. If you call rearguard this turn, this unit gets 5,000 power. That's important. Then act once a turn, Cowboss 1. This unit gets 15,000 power to the end of turn. And if you have 5 rearguards, draw a card. So more likely than not, you're never really going to use the second skill. If you do get lucky and you go first and you push your opponent pretty hard, you can probably call full board and try to go ham that turn to deal massive pressure. But there's 3 main key things about this card that makes it really good. One, it's 13k base, so that's really good. So your opponent can't really. It's just higher shield. Higher power when it comes to guarding. 2, it has force, which Harmony would have benefited with force, and it just makes it so that I can play force 2 or force 1, which this deck will most likely wants to go force 2, and you will see in a moment why with the strides. Then lastly, of its continuous skill, if a call was called during, if a rearguard was called during your turn. So if you have Vita and use her skill and you call Laffy, you're not sending out 23k Vanguard, and that's before a trigger. If your opponent doesn't have like on Strider, May phase, retire, or bind, or lock, you're getting a free 23k power. And like I said before, with Laffy, you're trading that for your Vanguard's power continuously. So you will save about 10k more shield value worth from when your opponent's attacking. And that depends how many times they're attacking. Sometimes it may not even matter, but having that extra defense kind of matters. Even if you don't have Laffy, just calling rearguard, she's 18k power. If you get a trigger, that's 28k power. So, and it gets higher if you call more Laffys, or you call or use other cards. But that's the main reason of playing Farlulu in the deck. And this is why we need Stride Fodder, because you can use the other Farlulus too as like Stride Fodder as well, but we just want that consistency of being able to have her in the deck and be able to ride her. Next to the second grade 3 boss, we play 3 copies of Magical Center Nina. This was a card from Divas Festa, and her first skill is Harmony, so you can use her for Harmony and other stuff. Then she has a Vanguard skill, which is pretty good, which is once a turn, Soul Boss 1. When this unit becomes a Harmony or a Junior Stride, you may pay a cost. If you do draw a card, choose a card from your hand and call it to Rearguard Circle, and until the end of the turn, it gets auto once a turn. Rearguard auto once a turn. When this unit becomes a Harmony, countercharge 1. And the last ability is Vanguard Rearguard Circle, GB2. When this unit is in Harmony, this unit gets 5,000 power. Nina is an amazing grade 3, and I think she was very slept on because of the fact that it wasn't Lors and it wasn't Anj. Anj was just so much better. It had filter, it had power. It really was just the powerhouse, and Nina got outshined by her. So now since Anj is at 1, Nina is a pretty decent grade 3 ride. So if you do end up riding Nina, the cool thing about her is that her Vanguard skill is not GB1. So it says when this unit becomes a Harmony, you can do it on your grade 3 turn. And if you still have Shawnee on rearguard, or have Shawnee in your hand, you can countercharge if you put her on Harmony, and you could get more power, and plus you draw. And also, during your opponent's turn, if you make her Harmony, you can Soul Boss 1, draw a card, and you could call another card from your hand. So, a cool play that I did before, and it's sort of luck based, was that I used Vita, and then I called Laffy behind her, so she was 21k. Then I used her skill. I Soul Boss 1, I drew a card, and I called Lieselot. And then Lieselot's skill looked at the top card, and I called Laffy, and then she was sitting at 26k power. And that was before my opponent even got the time to attack. Which was, it was pretty funny. Also, it was pretty cool at the same time. So Nina is versatile, as in, like, you have a built-in Soul Charge engine, and Soul Charge, Counter Charge engine. As long as you have a card of Harmony, as long as you can put in Harmony, you're always counter charging. So it's pretty cool. The only two negative things about it is that it isn't 13k base, and it does have a force marker. But that's why we play Farlulu for that 13k base if you really need it, and extra defense if you need it. So like against Neonectar or some high powered colors from the other decks. So last is going to the last two grade 3s of the deck. For the last two of the grade 3s, we play one Delight Genius Ange and one Shishu Lucio. So I'll just give a quick run now since they've been really said to death before. So Ange is this Soul Boss 1. When his unit is placed or when you stride, you can choose up to one of each player's rear guards. If you return one of yours, you draw a card. No, if you return one of your opponents, you can draw a card. If you return one of yours, you search your deck out with GB2 and put it to your hand. Then GB2, when you would call card, when you would discard for striding, you could call them to a rear guard instead. But Lucio is just GB2. When his unit is placed during your turn, you choose 3 of your units and give them 5k. If it was for the buy an effect or cost him an ability. So in Ange Harmony before, when Ange was at 4, I will play 3 Lucio and just 4 of Ange, and just search for Ange, put her in the drop zone, search for Lucio, have a card to be able to do shenanigans with, and just to give consistent power. But now since Ange is at 1, she isn't as consistent to get Lucio, and I don't want to run more Lucio because that means that's increasing the chances of me riding into Lucio and her being a dead card. So at most, I will have a low chance of getting Ange anyway. However, if I do get Ange and get the opportunity to ride, I have a plethora of GB2 units that I can search out rather than just having the Ange and just no GB2 units. So, and she's still good for the fact that you can just pay the cost for striding just by calling a card. So you can reset Harmony, and she does reset. So yeah, that's pretty much it of the main deck. Now on to the strides. Now on to the main Harmony strides. We have Dearly Desired Grand Stage Shawnee and soon Castle President out. So Shawnee is from Korean Collection 2019, and Alp was from Divas Festa. So Shawnee, she has Harmony on Vanguard, then she has Continuous on Vanguard. If 6 or more used in Harmony, this unit gets +1 critical for each face-up card in G-Zone. Then she has Vanguard. When this unit attacks, count -1. Return a G unit. Choose a card for your G-Zone and turn it face up. My bad. Then you look at the top 10 cards of your deck. You call up to any number of cards, a same number of units in Harmony to rear guard. You call them and they shuffle your deck. Then for Shawnee, for Alk, she has Harmony. Their axe skill, Karmas 1. Choose a face-down card with the same name as this card for your G-Zone. And turn face up, so Persona Flip. Choose 2 of your rear guards with the Harmony ability. Return to hand. The Vanguard gets auto when this unit attacks. Choose up to the same number of your rear guards as face-up cards of your G-Zone. You can return to hand and choose the 2 cards to call them. Then her GB3 is Vanguard Continuous. All your regards to Harmony get 5k. Alright, sort of a mouthful. So for Shani, she is mainly the first stride. She's there to fill your board up, to get extra attacks, and to filter out your PGs, Vitas, and other cards you want. So, if you want more power, you can look for Marinir, or a Nina for rear guard, so she gets 5k, or Laffy. It's okay to call Laffy too, because you can return it to your hand later. And like mostly important, you just want to call Vita behind the Vanguard. Since she returns stuff to hand, you can call it behind Nina, or you could just call it somewhere so you could proc Farlulu. So her inherent crit, I mean, I don't think it's really that hard to guard. So if you have someone, have a card like Lila to double its power, and then you if you call like a full board behind Shani, she can get crit with the double power. And yeah, really she's just there for utility. Even like other decks that don't play Harmony, call card behind her, you get CB1 plus 2. Yeah, it's not really it's a pretty good utility card. And Alk is there if you're trying to close the game, or you want to push for game. So I mean, before, I think I used to run 4 Alk because I had Lucille and I played Anya to be able to give her Harmony, return the hand, do all these shenanigans with Anj because she was at a 4, and just keep making consistent pressure columns. But the deck doesn't do that anymore, so it's a little bit more defensive. And trying to make it aggressive is sort of difficult at this time because all of the standard cards aren't as powerful as they can be to help Premium Bermuda at the moment. So next we're going to some of the other grade 3s, other Stride units. So my other Stride units, I play 2 Chuju popular favorite Tura. I play Zero of Disasea Megiddo, and I played Bridger Dragon of Deep Sea Ballerina. So for Tura, her skills are Act, choose a card for your Jizo, turn face up. This unit gets Vanguard. All your units with Choo Choo in their name in the front row gets 5,000 power for each open rear guard. Then her GB3. At the end of the battle, without this unit attack, choose up to 3 of your rear guards, put them in the bottom deck. If you do, send this unit, and this unit gets draw -2. And Tura, and Megiddo, you know, Megiddo is just Megiddo. Caraboss 2, if you have 3 or more face up, to pay the cost, you have to discard the same name as your Vanguard to have 3 or more face up cards in your G zone. Then you get Caraboss 2. When this unit is placed, you choose up the 5 cards from your drop zone or hand, you can call them. Then they all get 5,000 power. Then they each get, at the end of the battle that this unit attacked, you can swap positions with another unit. And Ballerina is from Pre-Cluster 2019. Continuous, this unit cannot be flipped up for the cost of strides. Its cost is discard the same name as your Vanguard. So it's just like Ultimate Stride, but it just has the persona discard. Then its skill is Vanguard, and when your opponent's Guardian is placed, discard a grade 1 or lesser in hand and retire that Guardian. So Tura is if you have Force 2 and you're trying to push for game, or you want to drop a bunch of cards out of your opponent's hand. If you manage to call Lucille, then you have 2 pressure units that you have with. Since Tura's already a 2 crit with a bunch of power and she resands, you give all the critical and power to Lucille. So yeah, Tura is so good. I play her as a 2 just because maybe the first one isn't going to finish them off. So Megiddo is just Megiddo. It's sort of like if I have no other options, you know, if I have you know, the same card as my Vanguard, then just do Megiddo and hope for the best. Ballerina is for, it's still actually a good win condition in this deck. If you have Lila, and you call any GB2 unit, and you summon Ballerina, you get some triggers and power, you can give it to the GB2 unit, use Lila, double its power, and since I already have the critical since I play 12 crit, it's a lot of pressure your opponent has to guard with, and you can just start discarding cards in your hand to prevent them. So it's basically PG or die if you get that combo off. So yeah, and also for the free striding is pretty nice if you need to. Also, if you get damage denied somehow, you go to this or another card I'll show a bit later. So we'll keep going on with strides. Now we have the last of the strides. These are all tech strides, so if you don't want them in the deck when you build it, or if you want to build it, then you can take them out for something else. So we have Celebrate Force Loris, Perfect Performance Anj, and Choo Choo Lennial. So Celebrate Force Loris, she has Harmony on Vanguard. Then her Axe skill, GB2, Cowards 1, choose a card face on your G zone, turn face up. Choose up to the same number of rear guards as the face up cards in your G zone, return to hand, and then to the end of turn, this unit gets, when this unit attacks the Vanguard, if all your users are in Harmony, choose up to 3 of your units and they get 5,000 power, and this unit gets a crit. So basically with Loris, if you have, it's basically a recoup card and a one-shot card. So if you know your opponent doesn't have a PG, and you have Lila in your hand, you can call her behind Loris. Then you can swing with Loris, use her skill, you know, she'll get 5k. Then you can use Lila to return the hand, double her power, and give her a crit. So if you have Force 2, that's like, I think 3 crit. It's either 3 or 4 crit. If you play Force 1, that's massive power and like 2 to 3 criticals. So it's basically a one-shot card and a recoup card. And like, with Force 2, it puts pressure on your opponent because they have to guard it every turn. If you put Force 2 on your Vanguard, then you put on your rear guard. I mean, if you start riding more Farlulus, you start putting on your rear guards, then they start to guard it. So, and even though the numbers are high, you're still forced your opponent to guard because they don't want to take 2 criticals. So next with Perfect Performance Anj, you combos 2, you choose any card in your G zone, turn face up. It's GB2. If you do, you choose any circle other than Vanguard circle from any players, and you can return as many cards as them to hand. So this does not get through resist. For each card, so if you return up to 5 cards, you draw a card. 7 cards, she gets +1 drive, and for each card you return, she gets 5,000 power. With Force 2, it's a big swing with 2 crit. She's basically a recoup card, and like I said, since Anj has a grade 3, is not just like an instant counter elite joker. If you do get your board touched by lock, you can return the hand. And if you have no way to bounce your units, but you still want, if you have no way to bounce your Harmony units and you need to draw cards, you can try this card. So yeah, and also if you want, you can use Lila to double her power and give her a crit. So yeah, that's something you can do. So the spicy tech that I decided to add to this deck is Choo Choo Lennial. I got this from an idea for someone from Discord. So basically she only has 1 ability, and that's when this unit attack hits a Vanguard, choose up to where your rear guards return the hand, or put it to the bottom deck. If you put a unit bottom deck, draw 2 cards. So if I have no other option, and if I'm CB denied, so let's say I don't have Roberta, I don't have Vita, and I didn't ride Nina. And my opponent damage denied me, so I can't stride Shawnee or use other strides. If I ride Farlulu, I could put Force 2 on my rear guard circle, and then I'll stride to Linnell. Because this deck doesn't really need, even though there are some GB2 units, like, the only two that really matters only Lila. Well, the only one that really matters is Lila. If I'm off for Lulu anyway. Since neither can automatically countercharge if I have a Harmony in my hand. So Linnell puts pressure on my opponent's Vanguard, so they'll be more enticed to guard it. But if they don't guard it, I have a rear guard with Force 2 that pressures them to guard it. So it will probably never see play, and if I do end up using her, the deck won't be hitting her that much by not starting to GB2, since Farlulu does not need GB2. So in that case, if I do end up riding Nina having no counterblast, I will still ride into this. I will just lose the value from getting an extra 5k if I call a card during my opponent's turn. So that's it for the strides, and now on to the G Guardians. So for the G Guardians, I play 5 of them, and I play 1 Blessed Sparkle Sandy. I play 1 Chuchu Faffy, play 2 Highest Society Citron, and 1 Hannah Leona. So I'll go over them right quickly. So Chuchu Faffy is just if you have 3 or more cards in your hand, this unit gets 5k, so it's 20k shield. Her purpose is if I want to G guard, so let's say my opponent attacks, I want to G guard the attack so I can have GB1 already active, but I don't want to use Citron or Leona too early, so I just use Paffy instead for the 20k shield if it isn't that high to guard. So Sandy is GB1. You choose in her G guard and your G zone, you flip it. Then for every 2 cards you have in your hand, this unit gets 5,000 shield. Then you can CB1 to give it another 5,000 to the shield. So this deck doesn't build a lot of hand, but just in case in those instances where you know you won't be able to have a lot of shield value to guard, Sandy does a lot. Leona, her skill is when it's used place, you choose one of your rear guard to return to your hand. Then you choose a card from your hand and call it. You have to call it from your hand if you return. If it was the same card that you call, if you called the same card that was returned, that unit gets 5,000 shield. So this is where I'll talk about the one of tech where of Enos. So if I call Enos and I know my opponent's going to try to do it like a sentinel block or something, I could just use Leona and call her. Since I think it's called by a skill, it might get over, but I don't think so. But either way, if I don't have Wiz, I can use Leona and just PG like that. So yeah, that's always an option, since not a lot of stuff retires in the meta right now. It's fine to do that. And also, I could get back cards I call like Anj or another Laffy, so I can use it again. And lastly, the most important G guard is highest society Citron. So basically, when you place her on Guardian Circle, you choose the 1 grade 1 or greater card from your hand, and you can call it. If you call a card, this unit gets 10k to the shield. So it's simple, but also enables Farlulu, it enables Nina, and then Nina can use her skill to call more cards. So you call like an Interceptor if you need more cards. She works really well in the deck, and she's probably like one of the best G Guardians for Bermuda right now, since Ellie has been banned, and I don't think she's ever coming back, even as a 1-of. So these are, well, for Sandy and Citron and Leona, they're probably the best G Guardian options. Unless you're playing Shushu, then you play that other Shushu Guardian. And that's the end of the deck profile. So I want to know what you guys think of the deck profile. This is before 2020 for the premium collection. So You might get a stride that might change the whole deck completely or the whole clan completely. Since right now, Bermuda really is just use Riviere and do stuff, because there's not a lot of strides that are like generic for the clan that are like very powerful. Other than Tarua just being a restander, there are other clans that have better cards and better strides and a better game plan than just Superior Ride and attack a bunch of times. Well, it's still good, but it wasn't like Ezel that had a bunch of combos and stuff. But until then, until the pre-collection card gets revealed and other stuff, I'll see you later. Peace.